Perhaps it was on the
site
website.
Site photograph?
Site photograph, yes.
Yeah.
There we are. That gives a better indication of what we're talking about.
Yes, Gareth,
Mr. Chairman. They're putting an application to raise the roof level. Are there any suggestions of changing use from the garage to accommodation? Because that seems a little bit divorced from the main building.
People I know have put rooms up in garages in the past.
Yes, usually they're attached or adjacent to the house.
Well, it's only a car. It's only a car.
This.
Yeah, it's only a car.
Well, it's had accommodation.
It does say to create first accommodation.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could be for
And
some.
does it say what for? Does it say?
Well, he runs carpentry. Well, he uses the downstairs is for carpentry.
The garage?
Yes, the garage. The downstairs and the garage. Yes, the garage itself.
Wants to build a stairs.
And put a room out there. Yeah, put and a couple of windows.
And there's no objections from any?
No, there's nothing online. I looked again this afternoon and nobody has objected, neighbours-wise. I don't know how close he is actually.
Can you go back to the site?
How close is to
his neighbour?
the furze is the other side of the block, the drive from the furze is behind the garage.
That's it.
So you see the furze is the other side.
Yeah.
And those are the ones really that it would affect,
Yes,
wouldn't it?
No, yes.
And they haven't
No,
come back
no,
at all.
there's nothing.
No.
No.
So can I have any proposals or thoughts?
I propose that we accept this planning application on the grounds that it is, if you like, an improvement of existing accommodation.
All those in favour of that proposal?
Is that the right? Is that the right
Well, do you want a
description?
second?
Shall we have a second? Somebody can second
We're
it.
creating,
Yes,
we're
right.
creating additional.
Well, it's obviously an improvement because he wants to use it for accommodation, so it is an improvement, isn't it?
I just think we can just say, can't we just say we support it?
It's fine. I would like to propose that we support this application.
All those in favour, please. Any objections?
His accommodation to the front of the house. I don't want that. The garage is to the side of the back and the other.
So the majority decision.
Yeah, majority decision.
No. Andrew.
Oh,
Andrew abstain.
Right, so
it's still
still majority decision.
Still majority.
In favour.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Malcolm, could you be kind enough to ask Bob to come back in? Because he could talk about the last item.
So just want to raise under this heading, that's not action yet. Just raise it, to think about.
Yes, there's an item on here, just consider the parish council response to the there was something else Bob wants to say.
The results that you go through. That's right, yeah, I've seen the planning list out this week.
Can we just go through the, please? Can we just go through the item that Owen sent out?
This is the planning list that I sent you, which is an updated list of all the planning applications that the council has considered this year. The only point I was making on, and it was not in any form of judgment, it's just I was making the point that we've objected probably to more this year. But Sedgemoor have actually agreed or supported more, so that's not in any shape or form anything significant other than it's a fact. That's what's happened this year. So you could deduce whatever you like from that, you know. But that was the purpose of doing the exercise, so you could see what we'd supported, what we'd not supported, and what Sedgemoor had granted. Basically, so it shows you the difference.
But we've had an update tonight on the Travellers planning application.
Right.
It's online, according to tonight,
Refused.
which has been refused. So that was in agreement with us.
Right, yes.
Good.
Even things up.
Yeah, even things up.
Just one other thing.
Sorry.
On the plan, sorry, Connie.
Sorry to put in, but communication isn't right here, I think, because we did object to it, and we should have had the opportunity to go down there and present our case based on objection.
True.
Why not? Because we objected to we objected to the others, which we went down and we lost.
Because the officers were recommending to grant permission. On this one, the officers have agreed with the parish, therefore it never comes to committee.
Oh, right.
So it's not the review,
Oh, I
it's
see.
the difference of opinion that takes it to committee, not the refusal.
Thank you. Thanks. I wouldn't want to miss out.
There was,
Thank you.
I think there was on the list, there was quite a good correlation between Sedgemoor's decisions and ours, generally, wasn't there? As there was last year.
We're not too out of step.
The idea of the plan is so you've got a concise list rather than having to flip through the planning portal. Just one other thing I want to point out. Obviously, you've seen a bit about, obviously from what was originally going to be January, we were going on to online only rather than hard copy plans. That's been deferred slightly to April to give some parishes a chance to respond to that decision. So in January, we'll have an opportunity on the January agenda to discuss what concerns we might have about doing it entirely online as opposed to having hard copy planning applications. So we've got a little bit of an extension of the period.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
When you were showing the tennis court lights and you were showing the height of them, you couldn't read, well I couldn't, what was on there. Is that what is going to happen
I think
occasionally?
that's an unusual one because there's an awful lot of small print on that one.
I think with respect,
You can zoom it up to 100%.
if you've got, I think it's a question of being taught how to use Adobe Acrobat on your own computers, because you could actually zoom even more than 100%. You can zoom up to 400%.
But I just noticed that you couldn't see.
You
That's
can.
no good for us, is it?
Oh no, I agree. But
We need to have it
you
absolutely perfect. Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
zoom in and
But I was
out.
thinking about here for everybody here.
Well, Owen can do it on that computer, and it should
You've
reflect.
got something on there, you see, and you can just zoom it up.
And you got to 6,400.
I mean, you obviously do lose a bit. You've got to move it around a bit, of course.
Yeah.
Depends on the size of your screen, but you can actually up and down, widen it,
Right.
lengthen it.
As long as we can see clearly what is written.
I think in 99% of the times it will be okay, because the originals have to be legible, otherwise the
Yes.
planning officer will reject them. I'm sure.
Because if we do have a problem, they will come out and talk us through.
Well, I suspect it will be talking through. Well, do you really understand how to do what Owen's just done? And I'm sure
Not.
just
We can't see.
I think it's going to be a situation that if we can't see them, bear in mind the planning officer will be receiving them electronically.
Yeah,
And they won't be able to see them.
fair enough.
They will get rejected.
Yeah.
At that
Except
stage.
that, yeah.
But we
Okay.
have had some poor plans, haven't we, over the last 12 months, one or two, that have
Yes.
been really indistinct.
Yes.
Cigarette
And
packets.
okay, you're going to change the system, but it doesn't mean to say that that's going to improve the quality of what's being sent in.
All I will say is think about it for the January meeting, come up with some cogent points, and then we can refer them to Sedgemoor as,
Yeah, if we've got a problem.
as a letter from Owen. Yes, Bob, you was
The key thing in terms of if plans are difficult to read and people I think it's important that members look at it before the meeting, because then the earlier you look at it, if you've got any issues, let Owen know, because he can always get in touch with the planning officer to make sure that information could then be available for you on the night. But if you wait until the night to then say you can't see it, you're too late, because by the time correspondence goes backwards and forwards, the deadline will have passed the decision.
No. But the tennis club, what was online wasn't very easy to, it wasn't very easy to read, but the hard copy actually was much better in the sense that I had more information. It wasn't just the fact you couldn't read it very well.
Okay,
I had more information which was sent out with the hard copy.
can we talk about it in January?
So I'm just saying that
An example, yeah.
An example of not actually having enough online, but more than alcohol.
Right, can we move on to reports then? Anything on footpaths, please, Peter?
We keep on about the water alongside the reservoir, that is still wet. And I know we've had some rainy days, but on a couple of occasions I've seen water running across.
It was visited by Bristol Water. In fact, they were incredibly quick to respond on that. After the last meeting, I actually sent an email saying I'd spoken to Bristol Water. In fact, the guy rang me whilst he was up there, and he tried to identify exactly where it was. And I said, well, look, I can't pinpoint it, but what I would suggest you do is walk around the reservoir and you can see where the issues arise. Anyway, he came back down to me and said, actually, there's nothing that we have any concerns about.
It's dry at the moment. Well, it's muddy, but it's not full of water like it was.
But with due respect to them, they did respond pretty quick on that. I mean, they were there within 48 hours of my ringing them. But they did say if there's a problem in the future, they're very happy to come and respond again and meet somebody up there possibly if that's an issue. So,
Malcolm?
Yes,
That's right.
The gates, a lot of the gates now are being forced open and kept open. I guess that people have got tired dogs and they're waiting for them, and rather than sort of wait, they'll go on and they'll push the gate open. So I think a lot of them need servicing, but may mean that a couple need springs on. But we've not serviced the wicket gates since we had them, so I'll try and get around with a spanner and just...
Are you happy to do that, or do you
Yeah,
need to
I'll
get
do
that?
that.
Well, that's kind of you, thank you, Peter. Malcolm, you
Yes, going back to the reservoir, I've had comments from a regular walk around that area, and he was under the impression that it might be a spring and not actually a fault with the reservoir.
Bristol Water would have thought we'd noted that, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for that.
it's worth bearing that in mind for the future.
I've been asked to say about this, well, they calls it a broken footbridge, but it, wouldn't call that a footbridge, but...
Floodplain.
Yes. But we don't think it's in our area, do we? And you're going to have a word with the clerk.
Yeah, it is
Yeah, it comes out in Stones Road. I don't know that area.
I think it's a long way over towards the railway line.
Yeah.
Where is that one?
What's happening about the railway?
I'm sure it's
Overbridge, Stoddens Road, end of footpath through to Kissingate. Sleeper Estates.
Oh, that must be going through into the field, is it?
Could you send that on to me?
Yeah.
Can.
No, I've written that in my notes, so
Oh, fine, okay.
I can write that and send
Yeah,
it.
just saying, and I'll have a word with John.
Identify the footpath.
I'm sorry, I don't
We
know.
did look at that this afternoon when we were having our meeting, because you kindly gave me one of those, Peter.
Just on Christine.
And I think it's not within our borough.
Just said
I
what
think it's in our,
Jerry
it's outside
said
our parish.
It's on AX 96.
yeah.
Was it
This is what
AX
that is.
96.
Well, we just
Yeah.
Chris, he's...
Proceed.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So-
Yes, it really
Yeah, I'll
Where's
do
our
that.
Andrew?
I don't know.
If it was in 9, it will be
That's Burton without doing that.
Burnham.
Okay.
Anything else on footpaths, Peter?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, can I say something, please?
Sure.
The style near the railway line, we've had, obviously,
Ongoing.
or written to British Rail, but nothing happened. But it is very difficult to get through
Yeah.
that.
Well, we're still awaiting a response from
Yeah.
British Rail, because Owen has chased them.
Yeah, they have to be the worst people ever to talk to.
Yes.
Because what they do is they write to you, they say, thank you very much for your email. It has now been passed to operations control or something. And then you get an email from operations control saying, we've now been passed your notes. We will give you a response within 6 months.
Well, it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it really is. It's
Well,
like,
actually, it's dangerous, because if you was an elderly person getting through there,
yes.
well, you could easily slip, because you've got to step up and squeeze through.
There's another issue that Brian will be reminding me of. On the footpath that goes behind Ivy Flat Hall, there's 2 field gates with wicket gates in them. If you operate the wicket gate, it's a big step up over them, because the ground is hollowed out for people to walk, and they really need to be made up. I don't know if you could ask Jason to try and run them part of
Did you put the new gate in?
Yes, I
Going
think.
into the field?
So it's the field behind Ivy Clat.
Much better.
It's the footpath behind
Yeah.
Ivy
Yeah.
Clat.
Much better.
There's two wicket gates which
On the
Needs an infill.
Bristol gates, in the Bristol gates.
they need some infill.
Infill, okay.
And also, can I mention the access to the pumping station off Brent Street? I know they're supposed to repair that pavement, but it's in a real
Oh,
mess.
terrible. They're quite
And honestly, elderly people trip up over that. It's all over the place.
When is that being handed over?
I don't know, but they could do something in the meantime.
I'll send a note to Andy
Yeah,
Roberts again,
it
because
is
he's
really
quite
bad
helpful
now.
actually. He's normally fairly quick to respond.
Yes.
They said they were going to go about 3 lorries.
I know they said.
Just remind me then, it's the just the entrance there, it's off the right off the job.
Yes.
Yeah, it does that, it is
They
dreadful.
with the heavy vehicles going over the pavement, broken up.
Highway reports. Malcolm, anything?
I've not been approached by anyone, but driving along Burton Row, I noticed some workmen doing something where the road narrows. I don't know whether we've had any information about any work in progress there.
Traffic lights appeared yesterday. Well, I was conscious that traffic lights appeared yesterday. There was a digger in the field opposite the house. I know we've been chasing to understand what the devil is going on there, and we have had no response.
Right, thank you.
So
On
that's
that,
the
I've
reason
had
No.
no comment.
I had an email saying they thought it would be completed within 2 weeks, whatever it is they're doing.
I suspect there was an issue with the pipe that goes between the ream on one side, and I think there was an issue over the level of the pipe and the size of the pipe, because it's a contractual legal issue. I don't suppose they want to publicise what is really wrong. The other issue on the highways then is we've had a letter from George about the 40 mile an hour, or supporting a 40 mile an hour limit on the A38. I think as a council, could I seek a proposal that we would support such a move to have a 40 mile an hour limit applied?
The road from the Edith Mead roundabout towards Highbridge is also 40 miles an hour. It's just this section from Edith Mead up to Brent Knoll and the East Brent roundabout that isn't.
Could we, I mean, I would suggest, rightly or wrongly, that it ought to be 40 miles an hour all the way to the East Brent roundabout.
Yes.
To the lower wheel.
Bob?
Slight update in that post the planning application that was obviously up there, which was talking about the junction, I had a word with county officers after the planning application had been withdrawn, because obviously couldn't say anything to them beforehand anyway, and basically wrote to them to say, look, it's fine, you've said this can't happen, so what can, because we've all acknowledged there's a problem. Surely the least you can do is a speed limit. They've written back to me saying that they are putting some speed monitoring devices up there to have a look at what's going on up there. I think they may have already done it, because there's a little black box that's appeared on one of the posts as you head towards Burnham. So they will be monitoring that. They will then come back with their comments as to whether it is suitable for 40 or not. The one difficulty we have there, as opposed to the road that goes past the speedway, is the lack of residential properties, because often the number of properties allows you to get a speed limit, which is why going through Rooks Bridge you've got some, and then it goes up and then it goes down again. So I think it's worth, I mean, certainly, I don't know whether anyone has proposed it, happy to propose that we do go for that.
If you take your example of Rooks Bridge, if you go from Rooks Bridge going along to a bit further, there's a 50 mile an hour speed limit. So they haven't just gone blatantly back to the national level, they've actually applied a reduced level. So that argument, there's no houses along there, so I just think that's a fallacious argument in my opinion. But I would hope that we as a council could write to whoever we write to county, I guess, as a parish council, and strongly urge consideration for a 40 mile an hour speed limit.
Who would you just be writing? Was it Hanover 3 or was it somebody else?
Start with Hanover 3.
Hanover 3 first.
Another issue too, on the Tuesday before last, we had an accident in the wall, Fox and Goose. That's really slowed the traffic up.
An accident.
Yes, it drove into the Fox and Goose, a white van that.
Yeah.
Going back to Uxbridge, the speed limit, 30 mile an hour limit, I think that was put up as a result of when that poor fellow was killed.
Yeah.
A pedestrian was killed, and there was a big hoo-ha about naturally enough, but we don't want that happening.
Well, we had an accident last week, luckily nobody was killed, but if you looked on the Burnham-on-Sea forum associated with that, there was a lot of people saying, why haven't we got traffic lights or junction improvements?
No. But also when I objected to the development up there, I did say then it would be a good idea to have a 40 mile an hour right through.
Yeah, one small thing not to be talked about now, it is it's Church Lane around, of course, by the church, but recently, in the last month or so, it's been quite evident that people have been approaching the church from both directions and then trying to park on both sides of the road in front of the church. It's absolutely hopeless, and there's been a mess up there. Some years ago, Bob will remember it was probably about 20 years ago, I did propose that there should be a one-way system around in that area. Don't need to discuss it now, but I would like it put on the next agenda for discussion, please.
Okay. Going back, can we have a proposal though to write to the county on the 40 mile an hour speed limit? You're proposing?
No, I've got another point.
Yeah, but can we carry on with that, or let's resolve that one for us?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I would.
You're proposing.
I would propose.
Can we say all this in favour, please? Yeah, okay, so that's another point, John.
Another small point, as you come into the village, just past the village entry sign, there are two restrictions, 30 mile an hour limit signs and going out. Of course, there are due restriction signs. They are filthy. They need to be clean, and Colin has agreed to come with me to.
Just as a matter of course, I'll ask Bob, do we know is there a county policy on cleaning road signs? Because it's not just in our village.
Filthy all round, all of it.
To be honest, I don't know.
Well, I don't suppose I've got any. Because last time we had to clean the sign, it was opposite Sanders.
I'm sorry to damage your enthusiasm, I'm just wondering about insurance.
Yes.
Concern me slightly.
You've got to have a safety measure, if there's a
Yeah.
car coming out because you'll say you couldn't see the sign.
Just something to think about, I guess.
You did chapter 38, didn't you?
Yeah, and you did.
Well,
You did chapter
They don't-
38.
they don't-
And we've got our fluorescence.
Have you got fluorescent jacking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay, thank you. And was there any other points
Yes.
on highways?
Yes, the white line which was painted up to the end of Body's Lane, they are parking vans and cars right up there on that white line. I went past twice this week.
Police.
All the cars parked where they should do, and then there were others, and they were right on the corner.
Can we ask PC Wheels to do a
And it is dangerous because I have to pass them. I thought, my
Last
God,
time-
somebody's not coming the other way.
The last time I spoke to PC Wheels, he said to me, I'm aware of the issue, and I will make it as part of my patrol, I will drive along, and if I see cars parked in a dangerous location, I'll actually put something on there.
Can you ask them, now we've got a solid white line which is not a non-parking zone, it's perhaps a way to generate funds for them.
Yes.
You have a point, did you say?
Yeah, no, speed watch signage, it's something that I think Bella raised last month. Speed watch signage in the village.
Yeah. It was like
Something that Roger raised as well. I've written or sent a note to Catherine Tyson, who's the lady who deals with this, and in fact we're not permitted to put them on the highway at all.
That's interesting.
Because there's somebody else
It's
who's
still
on there.
Somerset, it's in Somerset, isn't it? Other people do.
Yeah.
So why can't we? If
Do
they
we have an
have,
example?
they have to get permission.
Yeah.
We said that in
But
the...
do we know any other villages that have got them? Because that would help. I can go back to them and say that,
Could
a specific village.
you ask your dear Roger if he knows where they are? If you don't.
Just a sample of a village, that's all.
Any such signs would obviously need the agreement of the local parish town councils, and there are highway guidelines as to where they could be erected. So no.
criteria.
But do you know, would Roger be through his speed watch contact, could he perhaps ask whether
Yes, of
other
course.
If
villages?
you could ask, just one name of a village and I can then quote that
Yeah,
as a
okay, fine. Yeah.
precedent.
Question, that's right, that's the word. Right, village green and...
Sorry,
sorry.
Couple if I can. One is it's a verge more than a highway. So I've had, because there was the item in the magazine about Middle Street possibly being more used by cyclists and walkers. I've had a resident in touch who was very concerned that dog walkers are using the verge that they have outside the front of their house as the loo, and wondered whether we might be able to drop a note to Central to ask if we could have one of the please don't mess on this verge signs which they've done, the non-dog fouling ones, that we could then get sorted.
We can put it on their verge. And then we
Yeah,
have
Central will deal with it, but if we could flag it up.
Okay.
And the only other thing was George mentioned about the possibility of a roundabout at the end of the junction. We've been we've dealt with that one several times. It isn't. The difficulty is on a road of that nature, you have to have a big enough roundabout to slow the traffic down and put a deflection in. It isn't going to happen, and the other reason why it's not going to happen is because even if we could do it, it's going to cost about £1 million. County have made it very apparent they haven't got the funding, and we've looked at other sources of funding, and that wasn't acceptable. So I think the likelihood of anything happening up there on that basis is nil.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, who did the village green? Oh, Dave, sorry.
Would it be alright to talk about hedges,
Yeah.
as it's highways?
Oh,
It's actually
yes.
footpaths, really.
It's footpaths, yeah,
Yes.
sorry.
It's everything, really. We've got some of these hands out. I haven't
Have
got
we been
many.
looking at hedges?
Yeah, I know. And suggested what we, if we want to do something. Yeah, I haven't got any.
Who did this?
Me.
Oh,
I only did it quick, so it's not very good. But it's just bits that we have talked about and that have been mentioned to me and Bob recently, and whether we actually want to do something. Because there is a few issues when you start looking. I did have some photos, but I left the memory stick somewhere just to put on the screen. Because there is some sort of visibility issues on a few of the sites. Certainly the black one on Station Road, we've actually lost a significant amount of the highway. When you look at where the verge is coming out of South Brent Close and you go towards the railway bridge, it's very noticeable how much, and it pushes the cars over into the other lane. And historically it used to be maintained, I think, Bob said.
Yeah. Not by the county?
Yeah, no, by us.
Not by parish?
And it was let go, and it's sort of hedges quite serious there now. But it's what we want to do really, and the extent of what we want to do, because these are bits that we have done in the past, and whether they ought, and there's extra bits, whether we ought to be looking at putting some money aside towards doing some of it. I know really it's not for us to do, but we have done it in the past and no one else is coming forward to do it. So,
This one on
well,
Park
it's a
Road,
safety issue,
David,
really.
Yeah.
that looks very big.
yeah, but we have done it before.
All the way to the other
We've
side of the
done it,
motorway.
yeah.
A couple of years ago, didn't
Yeah, but
Mr Chairman, could I also go back to Station Road and Crooked Lane? Is that, which side of Crooked Lane is that on as you go up to Church? Is it on the...
that's on both sides.
On the boat, yeah,
Yeah.
because they are...
But that's been done,
yes.
because that's what Jason did,
Oh, right,
down
okay.
to the first house, but it's suggested by a few people further down, which is actually a sensible suggestion, because 2 farmers brought it up as well, even though they could do it. But there's a lot of horse riders and a lot of cyclists using it now, and it does narrow. It's surprising how narrow it is even in a car. And there is people who use it because there's stables and things down there, and really it's not down to them. Well, because they're getting to their stables and things. I don't think they're going to cut it when it's not on their property.
Recognising that we're going to be talking about a budget later,
Yeah.
we would need to understand some form of cost of this.
Yeah. You have to ask. It's Jason.
So, I mean, is it too late that we get a cost for the next meeting?
We
Well, we
probably
don't have to do all of it.
No, no,
But
it would be nice if
obviously Crooked Lane's been done now, and it is major what's been done on Crooked Lane, but if it was done every year, it would be very, very minimal price.
I mean,
It would literally be half an hour down and back.
I think the answer would be a cost
Yeah.
for each one, each of these ones that
Yeah.
you're suggesting, and then we can come to a decision at the next
Yeah.
meeting. So do we want to do that through Jason?
I think we'll have to do that.
Yeah.
I think on the Crooked Lane thing, obviously I had a lady phone me up who said that she thought that the Crooked Lane thing that Jason had undertaken was extreme. In other words, you know, it was quite a good job, I think, is what she was really trying to say. And was it necessary to go quite as far as that? And I did point out to her that, you know, better that way than leaving the hedge in situ and then having to do it again in 3 months' time. So that's why that was my reasoning.
I think it's extreme, but at the end of the day, in a year or so's time, it's actually going to be very tidy if you trim it every year.
Yeah.
Malcolm, did you want?
Yes, I came down Hart Road this evening, or late afternoon, and there was a tractor cutting the hedges back on the left-hand side, on the Fox and Goose side, from the motor, well, from
No, this side.
the children's home.
Oh, I see from children.
Yes, down towards Vole Road. They were cutting along there on the left-hand side.
But we don't normally do that then. We're only going as far as Somerset Court is what we did last time, or Chelsea Farm. Because the only reason we started doing that was because people from the campsite walk to the Fox and Goose, and they walk in the middle of the road because the hedge literally was out 2 foot in the road at that time, and it was pushed back extremely. But it ought to be kept back.
Mr. Chairman, can I, first of all, I think we should thank David for doing this because it's very good. Secondly, is it possible that we could get a price or put something in our budget so that we can do something maybe each year rather than stab it all in one go? Because if we put £2,000 in for this work, it's going to knock our budget for 6. But if we put £1,000 and do some this year and then do something next year, then that would be far more sensible.
I don't know how much it costs to do what Jason did. How much did that cost?
The Crooked Lane thing was £110.
So £1,000 could go a long way.
Yeah, I'm sure we could put something in our budget that we could just use for that.
Hedging fund.
Hedge fund. We're short on a share.
Bob, did you want to say anything?
No, to do exactly what Sven just said. I mean, to some extent, we don't need to do all this every year. If you're doing it every other year, it's going to be not reasonable.
I think we might have to appoint a hedging officer, as we've got a footpath officer. In all seriousness, to manage it.
Yeah.
If you're happy to do that, David.
Hedge fund manager.
Very good. Right, Village Green. Who did the Village Green?
Andrew.
Could you report on what you found, apart from the religious tracts?
Oh, yeah. Well, the lawn looked lovely. We have stripes, very well maintained. Play equipment's all in good working order. Rubbish bins were emptied. The benches are in good condition. Obviously, we know about the boundary fence along the back here. With all the weeds that have now been killed, you know, the fence that's even worse. It's quite tatty. I did wonder whether it'd be worth maybe looking at relining the car park, that the paint seems to be, you know, rubbed off quite a bit.
We have got
Brilliant, okay.
and we deferred it because of the weather.
Right, okay. And then I ventured into the toilets. There's no light.
Which one?
In the ladies. It was awful. There is no soap, so that the soap container has actually got the lid out and it's completely empty. And the water still in the ladies' sink is slow to drain. I didn't go too far into the men's, that I just sort of like cursory opened the door and said, hi!
Did you get a
but there was but there was no soap in there either. Toilet rolls were fine, floor was dry, you know, the hand dryers were working, but it was clean. I mean, the ladies, there was no light, so, you know, sort of I didn't.
That was too far.
Yeah, so it's good.
Is Sedgemoor who do the cleaning? Are they responsible for filling up the
Yes,
soap?
They do the
Yes,
soap.
last
They
night,
do the soap actually.
But there's no
They do.
soap containers, it was just,
No, I mean filling them up.
no, it was just, you know, like what you buy off the shelf at
Oh,
Sainsbury's. No, it's just one of their liquid soaps.
Squeezy.
Yeah,
They don't.
but there's none in the men's, because obviously, but the ladies,
You do need it, though, don't you?
everything.
It probably gets taken. That's the problem.
We used to use
Yes.
bull brush.
Yeah,
Why don't
everybody uses it.
Aren't some there?
That's it.
I think there are.
Containers, why don't they get, yeah,
Could we
why
ask,
don't they
could
get
we ask
filled?
Sedgemoor to see whether they've got some mechanism
Well,
to
that was out on the soap issue.
Yes.
Malcolm?
Yes, regarding the toilets, a frequent problem is the timing mechanism on the lights, and also summer and winter timing. I would like to suggest that we consider putting remote controlled lights activated by movement.
PIR.
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 Yeah. They seem to work quite effectively.
The only difficulty is the time it stays on.
That's it. And you have to go out in the dark.
They stay on while
Somebody
there's
to check
movement
the
or
Yeah,
people
you
there.
can't stand there or do whatever you're doing in there, waving at this thing to say, please stay on.
Well, the public toilets in Cheddar work like that, and I've never been caught out.
If it's dark, go to check.
Too much information.
Too much information. Anyway, the comment's noted and we can investigate.
Just finally on the water thing, George had a look at it for us. The water flow in the ladies.
Yeah.
You can't do anything with it. Nothing you can do with it. There's standard. They've got a standard social way thing, and you can't change them.
So,
Ridiculous.
So he said we could, if we went for a whole new configuration there and a whole new sort of system, new sink and everything else, we probably could do something, but not with the existing kit that's there. Just so.
Does it remain?
Has the immersion, not immersion heater, but the heater that keeps the thing from freezing up, has that been turned on now for this year?
oh,
I do check.
Might be worth before the frost starts.
Does anybody know how to do it?
Don't freeze it over.
Peter, if we ask you please, if you'd be kind enough to check that it's on.
And put a light in the ladies' toilet.
oh yeah.
You'll be right in that.
You must have a light.
Get down to it.
Any of the time?
Yeah, I'll come and do that.
In terms of the village green, Colin, did you progress anything on the surfacing yet? Around the, to replace the rubber mats?
It comes right on the agenda.
It comes later.
Oh, big
I didn't go on the inspection to East Brent.
Okay, it's on later, so beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just thinking in terms when we talk about the budget, we need to think about possible cost of consideration, but I guess we'll be seeking grants for it.
The one thing is all the bits and pieces on the green have now been completed. When we had that big surge of work being done, we had the premier fencing, we had the painting, we had the work done by Dave Welland, all that is now completed. We've caught up a little bit on that big long list we had.
My personal opinion was I think it looks a great improvement. And it's done well. I don't think there's anything significant in GB Sports.
I sent you a copy to everybody.
So again, we just note the items. Flood mitigation, I guess, has not been an issue. Touch wood at the
If
moment.
any.
We haven't gone on shore, so we never get flooding out until they go back. Now, the thing is, they come down the village and down the town gutter, but they come down a bit across the Church Lane. And although the water has been diverted by the weir there, it still needs clearing out, and it's getting worse than ever.
It was done earlier in the year.
It's been done and it's come back, yeah.
Yeah.
It was done in November time.
Yeah.
Early November.
It was done and then it all grew back.
Yeah.
No, I begged it. I went
Yeah,
out
no, seriously, it has been done.
and
yeah.
couldn't tell a lie, why are your ears growing?
No, it has been done recently.
Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't.
It ought to be done.
But if it's been done and it's come back again, do we need to ask them to do it
You need
again?
to be aware of it, because we should hate for the water, because all the properties from there down to where it goes across the road at the old manor, still receive water off the hillside.
So just explain to me again what we'd like to follow up. It's drainage from the old
And
manor.
there's the ditch, the town cuts at Church Lane. Over
What,
there.
the grid, you mean?
Sorry?
The grid, you mean, that stops.
No.
So the vegetation is
full of
vegetation.
vegetation.
It's the area.
There's no water in
area
it.
up to the grid.
Sorry?
It's the area up to
Up to
the
the
grid.
grid.
was that done then?
From where it comes through the field to where it
And
underneath the
it's
driveway.
On the corner there.
It's worse on the corner.
Opposite the
Opposite-
Hall's
yes,
house.
yeah,
Morris's house.
Yeah.
It's worse after the, where he's thrown all his hedge cuttings in it.
You're talking about on Brent Street, not on...
Oh, you mean the other side of the
Yeah.
grid as well?
Yeah.
So there's a little
Yeah,
bit,
that's a next
a little bit after the grid to where it enters, goes underneath the
Price
road.
hedge and all the cuttings are in.
Yes.
They'll be right to just contact the drainage board and ask them to re-examine it.
It was done.
Little short bit?
Yeah, it was done in quite early though, September time, and then we did the rest of the village in November.
Plus we've got leaves falling off the trees now. Police, parish surgery.
We had two visitors actually. Kim came, of course, who always loyally comes to these, and Leslie Royal from East Ryde. Concerned really, as before, concerned with the issues regarding the dogs and the concerns caused of an environmental nature, allegedly. Nothing else to report on that. She's just really updating us on where she saw the situation. There's nothing we could offer in terms of support or help because we didn't see it as a parish council issue, so we weren't able to offer her anything really, other than suggest that if there is a concern, her and her fellow residents could write to the property that they have a concern about collectively, and perhaps ask for some sort of mediation meeting or some form of communication between the two, because at the moment they're sort of a bit of loggerheads. But there's nothing we can actually do as a parish council to support what the issues they've raised. I don't know anybody else got any other comments to make?
Yeah, it was just, I know I had a phone call obviously when the
The issue
dogs had
happened.
got out, and they were obviously concerned residents at the time. I did have a word with Sedgemoor because they just recently set up a group that tries to help with antisocial behaviour issues, mainly in the urban areas. But I did have a word with them and said, well, did they think it was something they might be able to help with? And they certainly said it would be worth referring it to them. They wouldn't get involved in the sort of legal side, but they would try and help in terms of sort of arbitration and mediation. If we wanted to pass on those details, there's a gentleman called Rob Semple who is involved.
Rob Semple?
Yeah, he used to be with the grants.
That's what I thought I recognised the name actually, yeah.
And he's at Sedgemoor.
He's at Sedgemoor.
So we
But
could write
it's
the
something that only
registry
recently
to-
introduced, so it might help.
Yes.
Okay, now, was it, Brian, I think, wasn't it?
Well, Bob has all half answered my point. It seems to me, I'm very frustrated that we as a parish council can't do anything about this sort of thing. And it's not the only item in Brent Knoll that needs sorting out. And we've never been able to do anything, and it seems we're like bulldogs without any teeth.
You know,
But what Bob said, I think, is a little bit more encouraging.
Okay.
There is,
sorry, carry on.
we had a visit from the dog warden day before yesterday. Spotted me walking down the road, two dogs pulled up and sort of unrolled me all down the road till I disappeared.
What were you doing?
Just walking the dogs. But there is a presence of the dog warden in the village.
What, she needs to
Is
walk
he
up
how
the
often?
slide then?
How often are windows?
Oh, that's the first time I've seen the dog warden in the village.
Sorry, Cynthia, sorry.
Well, I agree with Brian that there are this particular subject that we're discussing has been going on for so long that nobody,
exactly.
just nobody, has ever really gone further than talking about it really, and it's serious. There are dogs in
I think the
there.
issue we have to
I know it's
recognise,
not our concern.
unfortunately, is that as a parish council we do not have the power.
I
I'm
know
sure
that.
if we had had the power, in the last 25 years or however long the problem's been going on, the council would have reacted by now. And all we can do is commiserate and pass on our best information that we have at the time. And I think that solution, or not solution, but comment that Bob's made, it should be a helpful one. I think that's all we can do. Okay. Right, correspondence. I guess we didn't have anything on the police.
No.
Oh, sorry, a report for you on anything?
No, nothing.
No, nothing. So.
It's not already covered elsewhere. So, we've got a letter here from Mr. Carter, who has actually responded to a letter that she received from a resident who has concerns over activities in Station Road. Which you've all seen that anyway. You've seen that letter and you've seen the original letter that she responded to. We've also got a letter from another resident regarding affordable housing that we know about. That's Mr. Brown right there, which is obviously on the Station Road issue.
Yep.
And that's again self-explanatory, I think, really. And that goes with all of our correspondence on that subject. So I'm keeping a file on that particular area because we will have a fair bit of correspondence as time goes on. We've got the Sedgemoor infrastructure levy details. We know we've received £4,282.30 SIL grant for developments within the village. That's now been paid to us in November, and they obviously update us as and when those payments get made.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I did a bit of digging at Sedgemoor to find out where the money had actually come from. The two lots that we've had in are for the two developments. One that is, I think, called now Kingfisher House, the new one down off Burton Road near Middle Street, and Church Gardens.
Oh yes, by St Michael's.
Yeah, very good. That's the two ones that were contributed.
So, just while we're on that, can I just ask, if we've got a SIL grant, do we not hold other monies as grants at the moment?
We do. We've got a previous SIL grant which we had earlier in the year, which is another £2,500.
Yeah.
We've also got the solar farm, Wick Lane solar farm grant, 2,000, and we're getting 2,000 from that each year for the next 5 years. So that's something we can budget in as an ongoing grant.
So at this moment, would it be right to say we've got eight and a half available?
There's a bit more than that because there's also our election fund. I'll go through on the precinct because I'll show you how it breaks down, so you can see how it kind of we arrive at the figure. The other letter here was from the Bath and Wells Dyson Board of Finance regarding the Glebe field, and obviously we asked them to take some action. They have taken some limited action on that, or will be doing so. And we also asked the question as to whether it could be something they would consider passing over to the council, purchasing it or whatever, but they're clearly not in that frame of mind at the moment to want to negotiate any sale of that land to anybody, it appears. But Greenslade Taylor Hunt are aware of our views. If we're not happy with the reply, we have got the option of going through to the diocese directly, I believe. If we felt strongly about it, we could go through the diocese and bypass Greenslade Taylor Hunt, although I suspect, unless it was a very clear case we were making, they'd probably just pass it back to Greenslade Taylor Hunt again. So we're probably not going to get too far on that one. And then the other thing here was this coastal catchment notice of intended entry land drainage act. Anticipated date of entry the 1st of the 12th 2017. Culvert contractual work. So any time now, I guess.
Who's doing it today?
Yeah, there you go. I put on there, you probably wonder what that was for, I put on there a letter template. I felt that the village signs we've got have been very well received, and I just thought it would be quite nice to get a logo that reflected the village signs so that we're actually got a consistent, so I asked Area Sign to send me the software that had that logo on it. So I'm able to now use that, so whenever I send a letter to anybody, it's actually got the same logo as our village sign, which makes it look a bit more corporate.
Yeah. Very quick.
Yeah, it's in newsprint.
Sorry?
Better than newsprint.
So that's the bit.
Right, thank you for that. Finance.
Finance, right, okay. Quite a lot of finance this month actually. We've got a lot of payments, but first of all the statutory payments, which are the 4 regulars, which is salary tax, GB Sport and Jason. All of that comes to 1,414, which is in line with our previous payment list. On the variable side of it, we've got David Welland, Coast Gardening 475, Premier Fencing 101,076. They did actually try to charge us for the higher amounts. If you remember right, there were 2 options. One was more expensive than the other. So I managed to catch that before it got paid, and £80 difference. So the Premier Fencing has now been reduced, so 10,76. Andy Selway, I need to report a slight issue on that one, because when we came to meeting last month, Andy Selway gave us a quote, which on the face of it looks as if it was the whole thing, and it wasn't in fact. It was actually only the materials. So we agreed the materials, but we didn't agree the labour, because for some reason the email he sent me on the labour was separate to the materials. So therefore, although we agreed last month on about 250 materials, it didn't include the labour. So the total cost of the job is £570. Area and signs 72, that's for the SID and for the blue sign. It's gone to the front of the gate and the village green.
Is that after the water gone in it? Is that before?
You might like to know that the sign is up with Arian, and they'll let me know. It's really.
Thank you.
Okay.
You mentioned the blue sign. There was also one for the tree.
There's one for the tree, which they I think they must have included that in it, because they haven't separated it.
Fine.
At the moment, Brian, you've got that also. Have you got the sign, the tree sign?
Yes.
Yeah. What David Welland's going to do is going to contact John next week.
Well, you've got the big sign.
He's going to contact John.
No,
He's going to meet John.
I passed them on to Dave Welland.
Dave's got the sign, has he?
Yeah.
Right. So
He'll
meet John then, just so he knows where to put it. Okay. And then you've got the SLCC subscription, that's Society of Local Council Clerk subscription, 1718, 208. I left the other one out because Bella's in the room. So, do you want to approve those first of all? Those payments.
All those in favour? Thank you.
Okay. So if you could just
step outside for 2 seconds.
Outside just for a minute. If I didn't, the driver should be on there as well. And that's for the pressure washing.
So refreshments are proposed, repaired.
Can we pay Bella for the refreshments?
£6.79.
All those in favour? Yeah.
Okay.
Can you ask
Go
us
back.
back here?
You have an invoice for that.
I'll tell her it was a majority decision.
Not to just.
Marginal majority. Okay. So that's all the payment side of things up to date now. So you're pretty up. There's nothing much outstanding now on the payment side apart from the payments.
Do you want to perhaps go through the grants?
Yeah,
or we
let's do
do the budget and precept?
Yeah, we've got.
And indeed our meetings this afternoon.
Yes.
And I think it's that.
Yeah, it all ties in.
That would be better.
If we look at the grant request, we put something in the BKN back in, I think it was October probably, and we asked for any local groups, if they wish to apply for a grant. We had 2 actually. We had one from the village school and one from the Guides and Brownies for grants. Now, obviously, both of those come under the Section 137 category, which is that they serve a community benefit. If you think that the Guides does, and that's over to you to decide that, whether you think a grant made to the Guides has a community benefit in Brent Knoll, and I think that's what you need to decide.
I'll just for added information, when Bella and I went to the school to look at the children's proposals for the telephone kiosk, Chris was very kindly took us all round the school, and I did mention to him that we would be considering grants if he's got anything, but rather than just write and say I'd like some money, please ask for a specific, if you've got a specific project in mind, which he has done, and it's for basically to enable the children to grow things in their polytunnel and pay for fertilisers and wheelbarrows and some tools.
And he's asked for £200 actually, that's the official request of £200 in that respect. So the guides didn't actually, I don't think guides actually asked for an amount. Well, the rent of the parish hall, they talked about their costs, I suppose. The rent of the parish hall was £278 this year, and the cost of badges was £276. And also it's a scarecrow weekend, it costs them as well to set that up, so to do the work they do on there. So, you know, you can obviously decide yourself whether what they've done is, you know, justifying the grant.
Anybody, well, just take one at a time. Anybody objecting to the school? No, so we can set that one. The guides, stroke brownies.
It seems beneficial to them.
What concrete amount was it?
It wasn't really, they were asking us to make a grant.
To go to some way to pay in the hall fee for them.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, if we offered to pay the hall fee, which was, what, £80?
£78, yeah.
And that includes the scarecrow weekend.
Well, it doesn't actually, no, that's the hire of the hall. It says here, we'd like to apply for a grant to help with the expenses of Brent Knoll Scarecrow Weekend that we have organised for the past 6 years. The Scarecrow Weekend is of great benefit to the three groups financially and provides a great weekend for the residents of Brent Knoll and local community. And the event draws lots of visitors and really showcases the village of Brent Knoll.
So I would support that, Peter.
Yeah.
Can we, so we've got a proposal to offer 100, any objections?
No.
No.
Okay, that's fine. Now the other one was the Mendip Community Transport application. And as you recall, when I sent you an email, that I went back to them and asked how many people in Brent Knoll were actually using the Mendip Community Transport. And the only thing they were able to tell me was that there was 44 registered users. When I asked how many people were actually using, they couldn't tell me. So,
Peter?
When the people came here from the community transport and gave us a presentation, and they were asking for money, we agreed at that time that we wouldn't give them any money. So why should we change our views now? The thing is also, on the side of the Mendip Community bus, it says sponsored by Somerset County Council. The money from Somerset County Council is from our pockets, so we're helping it back. Not being sort of
The
mean.
double thing. Yeah.
That's right, it's a double whammy.
I mean, my personal view, and not, it was, I question whether we should
The
do it.
use.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know of anybody, does anybody around the table know of anybody?
I don't know anybody that
I don't
uses it.
even know where it comes.
How does it work? Do you pay for it?
It's just-
Oh, it's a slip.
just thinking.
Oh, that's
Thinking.
thinking.
I remember
Did you have
that
to
what
book
struck
that
me
in
was the fact
advance?
that they took the kids to the Blue School every day.
I think that
Sorry.
Honeywell used it, haven't they?
I don't know.
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah, they
I
do.
think at this time we haven't actually had a formal request for money, a figure. They just
No.
asked us for a grant.
It just says, I'd like to ask if you assist the MCT by a grant towards the running costs of the charity for the year ending 31st of March 2018. And it says, working with volunteers and paid staff, we continue to achieve remarkable results. Travelled 416,000 miles and made 80,527 passenger journeys.
I suppose you could say it's, we've got 44, did you say 44?
Yeah, 44 people that are registered.
People. We ought to consider it.
Well,
If there is any money, we
But
will
do they actually use it?
Well, exactly.
We're looking for money for
They do.
education.
Oh, we
I
don't
would
have
look
it.
for a proposal, either we do or we don't. So I guess Peter will be proposing that we don't. Can
We
we
do.
second that? Can I have a show of hands that we don't? So is that a majority?
Yeah, so
Council?
it's a majority.
Yeah.
It's a majority. Just.
A just majority. Other.
Can I raise something under other grant considerations? Because in the past we have had other organisations that we have supported, which we haven't had something come in this year. But we've done the air ambulance because it is something that benefits the village, and we've also done the CAB because we know that, again, that's something that people regularly use. I mean, they haven't specifically written to us, but I know that a number of the charities are under pressure in terms of the logistics of getting the bids out, and it's whether members feel